Well, this series of videos is all about celebrating our 20th year on national television. We're extremely thankful for all of the support that we've gotten over the years. And, another thing we've gotten is a lot of questions about, the path and how did I go from, the small town guy down in Marianna, Florida to, national media guy. And as I mentioned in one of the other videos, I'd like to tell you I had this great master plan, but it wasn't really that way. It was just a lot of hard work and a very steady growth, and also listening really well along the way. Now, in the last video I talked about how I was offered this opportunity to host a local cable show and how traumatic it was because it was live. I mean, one camera sitting there behind a little desk and a phone. And when the phone would light up, I would look over, I would push the button, and the caller would ask me a question. Okay, we can take another caller now. Welcome to Better Living. Well, okay. I can get embarrassed really quickly, always have, I guess. And so they started having a lot of fun on Monday night. Monday Night Football, it was nowhere near as much fun as making Danny get embarrassed and turn red. So they would have their girlfriends call or their wives call, and they would ask a question, and then they would say something extremely embarrassing to me, and then I would politely hang up and go to the next caller. So it got pretty tough on me, but I did that 81 Mondays in a row. With different guests. I would have a carpet guy, I'd have a painter, I'd have different people to talk about their home. It helped my business considerably, but nowhere near as well as when I started figuring out how to take cameras out on my remodeling projects. I had 2 or 3 projects going, so why not take the cameras out and very simplistic, low quality kind of show, but basically me walking around talking about the project, what we're doing and what you can do in your home. I see you certainly got the proper tool for it there.
That's the main thing, is having the proper tools, and a lot of homeowners don't, and they end up messing up a lot of stuff.
So what do you have here? What is this, a 3-inch, 3
That's
and a quarter?
a 4-inch bit.
4-inch bit? I see. My remodeling business tripled almost overnight because of the realistic nature of what I was doing, and people, thinking, the guy must be an expert, he must be good, he's on television. So it did help my business considerably, and we continued along that path for a long time. And then I started thinking, a couple people telling me, you really got a knack for explaining processes about homes to homeowners and make them feel comfortable. That's good television. So we decided to try a few other cities and a few other markets. So what happened is I got into these other cities and became more of a regional show. I was really too big for the local advertisers and too small for regional or national advertisers. And I went from making a fair amount of money to really losing a tremendous amount of money. Boy, this is where I had to dig deep for confidence to go, well, am I really cut out for this, to do this? Because I needed either to stop right then or I needed to understand I had a very rough road ahead of me. And I just kept marching. I kept going along, and I got up to about 28 markets, and I was going to give myself about another month to find some substantial sponsors. Otherwise, I was losing so much money, I just couldn't make it. By that time, I had started doing a lot of national speeches at shows like the International Builder Show, Kitchen and Bath Industry Show, a lot of different type of shows like that. And as part of that, and I made just a little bit of money. They won't pay you very much, expenses and such. And I was at a little get-together, just a kind of a little social thing, probably 300 or 400 people there. And I ran into a couple remodeling contractor buddies of mine, and I was telling them about this project that I was doing here in Mobile, Alabama, which is about the rainiest city in the United States. And the uniqueness of it is it was a ranch-style home, about 1,500 square feet, and I was taking the entire roof off of it and building an entire second story on it, another 1,500 square feet on top of it. Again, in one of the rainiest cities in the United States. So I had to build this tent over it, and I had to do all of this additional work on the footings. Well, anyway, I was telling my friend this because we would get together with different remodeling contractors. They would always tell their horror stories as well as some of the good things that happened. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and it was a writer for a magazine. He said, "Hey, pretty interesting story you have there, and we're renaming and retooling a existing magazine, and we might be interested in that as one of our stories in our premiere issue of the magazine." I said, "Great, here's my card." 2 weeks later, he called me. 2 weeks after that, they show up with the first national photography experience I've ever had. They had about 4 people. They had a heck of a photographer. They had a pile of equipment, and they photographed everything, interviewed me, did all of this sort of thing. It was great. The magazine was being renamed Today's Homeowner. It was the first time the name Today's Homeowner was ever used. It had already been trademarked by the Times Mirror group of magazines, and I was going to be in the premiere issue, and I was. And so anyway, so while the guy was down here, you know, being hospitable and taking him out to eat and everything, I had my little media kit. I still have it. It's pretty hilarious to see this amateurish looking thing and a little demo tape, and I gave it to him. "Take this back to New York." He goes, "Well, that's not my part. I'm just an editor." I said, "I know, take it back, see what happens." Less than 2 weeks later, he was in a company meeting, and the president of the organization said, "We're going to be the first multimedia company in the United States. We've got a website. We've got a great magazine. Now we're looking for a home improvement television show to partner with to help take it national." The guy goes, "You know the guy that we shot down in Mobile, Alabama? I have his media kit." He went and got it off his shelf, handed it to him, and the conversation started. I got calls, I got back and forth. "Can you come to New York?" I went to New York, to Park Avenue, walked into the offices to hear what they had in mind, which was extremely complicated and something that it just didn't seem to make sense. So I took a stab at a more simplified arrangement, which they loved, and we signed on the dotted line in March of '98. And I took my show national in June of '98, going from 28 markets to 103 markets when we launched in June of that year. We were on our way. I still owed a lot of money, but I was getting just a little bit back in, and I think I was about to turn the page on how that was going to work out for me. So we started in June of '98. We had a few ups and downs, include a very interesting one involving a little company called AOL. I'll tell you about that in the next video.